Stop everything for a second and breathe with me. This is for the chosen. If the title hit you like a whisper in your chest, do two quick things right now. Hit subscribe so you won't miss a single confirmation coming your way. And in the comments type, "Not done," if you're ready for what God is about to do. Say it like you mean it. This message is for those who felt written off, forgotten, or passed by, and it's about to flip their story. You've been carrying a quiet ache, a season where doors closed, dreams delayed, and people wrote your obituary in their minds. Maybe you even started to believe the lie that your best days were behind you. But listen, heaven doesn't work by human timelines. God is about to shock everyone who thought you were finished. When He moves with dramatic purpose. What looked like an ending is only the preface to your greatest chapter. Think for a moment about Joseph. Sold, imprisoned, forgotten in a pit. By every human account, he was done. But God rewrote his story overnight. Pharaoh's court couldn't explain it. God could. If Joseph's life resonates with you, type "Joseph Rise" in the comments. That declaration builds faith in the room. What I want to do now is walk you through the atmosphere before a divine shock. How to prepare your heart and life for it. The practical signs to watch for. How to steward the breakthrough when it arrives. And how to testify so your testimony becomes oxygen for others. I'll also give you short reset practices you can use over the next 21 days to align with what God is doing. Stay with me. Don't scroll. This is not entertainment. This is a strategic moment. First, the internal shift. Before God surprises the world, He shifts you quietly. You may have noticed small things changing. Your prayers feel different. Your taste in people changes. Your appetite for noise declines. Those internal shifts are not cosmetic. They're structural. They prepare you to carry what's coming. If you felt interior changes, type "I feel the shift." Say it out loud. Agreement matters. Second, the pruning. Seasons of loss and isolation are not punishments. They are surgical. God prunes so fruit can grow. The pruning might have felt cruel. Friends walking away. Relationships failing, finances tight. But these were clearing processes. When the pruning ends, new growth is startling and fast. When someone prunes a vine, the cut looks like death. But what grows afterward is more fruitful. If you're coming out of pruning, write "I'm growing." Third, the surprise signs. God often reveals imminent shock in small confirmations. A single phrase in a sermon that lands like a match. A dream that repeats the same image. A chance meeting that seems random but proves providential. Keep a notebook and date these confirmations. When you connect the dots later, you'll trace God's hand. Right now, if you've had repeating confirmations, comment "I keep seeing signs." Fourth, expect opposition to escalate just before your shock. The closer breakthrough, the louder the pushback. Temptations become sharper, critics louder, and unexpected delays suddenly reappear. That's not failure. It's proof you are about to advance. When the pressure increases, stand still in prayer rather than panic. Type "pressure mounted proof" if you'll hold that posture. Fifth, stewardship matters. When God gives sudden favor, the first test isn't applause, it's stewardship. How you handle the first breakthrough determines whether favor multiplies or evaporates. Stewardship includes humility, wise management of resources, staying rooted in Scripture, and protecting your closest relationships. If you pledge to steward well, type "I steward." Now let me tell you what shock looks like in real life. It might be a job call you never expected. It might be a reconciliation that heals reputational wounds. It might be a financial provision that arrives through an inexplicable source. It might be an open door overseas, a published work, or an invitation to speak where you once thought you had no voice. The shock will not always look big to everyone, but it will be undeniable to you and to those who were watching. If you imagine a concrete shift you want, write it now. My shock is a diner. Wow. Let's break this down into 3 prophetic phases so you can recognize which season you're in. Preparation, activation, and overflow. Preparation is quiet. This is the season where God retools your character, rearranges your environment, and places allies at the right coordinates. Do not despise the preparation. Use it. Practice faithfulness in small things. Answer the emails you avoid. Forgive the one you're angry at. Tighten your daily rhythms. These little obediences are deposits. Activation is sudden. It's the moment God moves on the timelines of men and pulls something into your orbit. Activation can feel like acceleration. What used to take years happens in months. Do not be shocked if timing snaps into place. When activation comes, receive it with gratitude and discipline. Say "thank you" out loud the first chance you get. Overflow is when multiplication happens. Blessings don't stop at your front door. They ripple into your family, community, and calling. God's purpose is always communal. Expect your rise to bless not just you, but others who are connected to your faithfulness. Now, how do you prepare practically this week? I'm going to give you 5 daily disciplines. Small, doable, spiritually strategic that will align you with divine acceleration if you do them consistently for 21 days. First, practice morning surrender. Each morning, no matter how early or late, say, Lord, I surrender my plans to your plan. Spend 5 minutes listening, not speaking. If you commit, type I surrender mornings. Second practice, clarity journal. Each night, write 3 things you noticed during the day that felt like a nudge, a confirmation, or a strange favor. After 7 days, review and highlight repeats. If you'll keep a journal, comment, I journal. Third practice, 1 restoration call. This week, make 1 phone call that mends a relationship or clears a misunderstanding. Even if nothing dramatic happens, the obedience opens spiritual channels. If you'll make the call, type I will call. Fourth practice, financial reset. Track every dollar for 7 days. If you see a needless leak, close it. This small discipline signals to heaven you can steward increase. If you'll track your money, type I track. Fifth practice, public testimony. When you see a small favor, post a 1-sentence testimony, honest and humble, so others can believe. Testimony invites multiplication. If you'll testify, put, I will testify. Now I want to give you encouragement rooted in Scripture because the Bible is full of people God surprised. David was the youngest of his brothers and yet became king. Esther was an orphan who entered a palace and saved a nation. Peter, who denied Jesus, rose to lead the church. Scripture's pattern. God delights in shocking human assumptions. If you have a favorite Bible story that encourages you, put the name in the comments so we can build courage together. There are also pitfalls to watch for when a shock arrives. The first is pride. Favor can become a fast path to self-importance. When people start to applaud, remember the source. Pause, pray, and give the credit back to God publicly. The second pitfall is fear. Fear of losing it or fear of the spotlight. Anchor in community and wise counsel. The third is hurry, trying to build what God has given too quickly. Pace yourself. When your shock begins, you will have to make decisions quickly. Here are 3 decision filters to use in the moment. Does this option preserve my integrity? Does this option position me to serve others? Does this option honor my primary calling? If the answer is yes to 2 of 3, move forward prayerfully. If you need to write, I will use filters. Now let me share 3 short testimonies of ordinary people. God shocked the world through, so you can see how varied the shock can be. A teacher in a struggling city school refused to be cynical. She stayed, tutored late, and loved students the system had left. One day a donor walked into her classroom and asked how to scale what she was doing. Years later, she founded an educational network. The shock wasn't an overnight celebrity. It was the multiplying of faithful presence. If you are faithful in the small, type I stay. A man lost his business and spent a year feeling finished. He adopted humility, worked hourly jobs, and continued to bless neighbors. During that season, he learned new skills. 1 year later, a major company recruited him to lead a turnaround because his character had been tested in loss. If you've known loss, write loss prepared me. A young woman felt called to speak truth in a local gathering and was mocked. She continued to speak, refining her words, loving her critics. Years later, she wrote a short message that went viral and opened doors for a ministry that now crosses continents. Her shock started with a consistent voice. If you desire courage to keep speaking, say, I will speak. Let's talk about the spiritual mechanics of a shock. God moves people, not atoms. He aligns people, positions influencers, stirs hearts in secret, and causes logistics to bend. When you pray, don't only ask for the result. Ask God to move people who will partner with the result. Pray for connections, mentors, and patrons who carry favor. If you'll pray for people to be aligned, comment, align my allies. There's a prophetic edge here. God sometimes uses scandal and failure as a backdrop for a larger mercy. Don't be surprised if your public recovery becomes your platform. Joseph's fall became his rise. The disgrace sometimes become the loudest testaments of God's restoration. If you have been through public pain, write, my pain becomes praise. Now I want to give you a short bedside ritual to secure your atmosphere before sleep, because the nights are often where God rearranges things quietly. 1. Before bed, thank God for 3 small things from your day. Gratitude shifts expectation. 2. Speak aloud a 1-sentence declaration. Heaven, Move on my behalf tomorrow. 3. Ask God for one small dream or impression and write it down if you wake. 4. Release fear with a simple prayer. I release worry. I receive trust. Do this for 7 nights and watch for small confirmations. If you'll do it, type night ritual. Now let's address fear of exposure. Sometimes the shock will reveal things that were hidden, for better or worse. Be honest now. If there are parts of your life that need confession, do it before your story becomes public. Reconcile quietly where you can. It's easier to repair privately than to clean up publicly. If you'll confess now, say, I confess. When the shock hits, your relationships will be a key test. Some will celebrate. Some will be jealous. Don't be surprised